Yo guys, what is going on? Today we are doing a Magic the Gathering deck profile for the new set Dominaria. Today we'll be focusing on these little dudes. A deck consisting of Fungus and Saprolings. So it is a green-black deck, and the strategy is to go relatively wide, pump up your little creatures, sacrifice them, do all sorts of shenanigans. But the thing for this deck is it costs less than $10. That's insane. Considering top tier decks are even in the hundreds. The $10, and you can easily find most of these cards in just commons, uncommons from a booster box. It's just pretty damn good. And the most expensive card here is like 50 cents. So let's get right into it. So first of all, for the creatures, we are playing 2 copies of Slimefoot, the Stowaway. He is a 3 mana, a 1 colors, a black and a green, for a 2/3 legendary creature fungus. Whenever a Saproling you control dies, Slimefoot the Stowaway deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Then you can pay 4 mana of any color to create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token, and you don't need to tap him to activate that ability. Which means these can be the win condition sometimes depending. You can just keep sacrificing your tokens to ping life from your opponent and gain some yourself, and by the end you should have fair amount of life. So we got 2 of those. They are one of the bigger elements. We only really need 2 because you don't want to have too many of these if they're legendary, and they don't really supply that much of a damage threat. Then we are playing all 4 copies of Yavimaya Sapid. It's a 3 mana for a 2/2, but when it enters the battlefield, it creates a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. So throughout the course of the deck, you'll be generating lots of these. And it's a 2/2, and it is a fungus. So later on, with the boosts for fungus and Saprolings, you'll see why that can matter. So we're playing all 4 copies of them. And that is also just a common. So Slimefoot's an uncommon, but they are just commons. So like less than 30 cents each. Really cheap. Then we are playing 4 copies of Deathbloom Thallid. This is a 3 mana, 2 colors and a black, for a 3/2 fungus. Whenever this creature dies, you create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. So this is like the Yavimaya Sapid, except it's got a bit more offensive power, except you have to wait till this dies before you get your token. Which means sometimes, if it's worth it, you can actually sacrifice this dude by using some other spells to get the token, to which then you can use for the Slimefoot the Stowaway if you need to ping that last few damage. So we're playing 4 copies of these, and they are just common as well. So very, very cheap. This deck was mainly built out of just spare cards from a booster box. So if you hit up your local game store, look through their bulk, you should be able to find almost everything you need for this deck. And again, less than $10 at this point of filming, which is like a week after Dominaria's release. Then probably the most important and powerful card of the deck, we have a playset of Spore Crown Thallid. This is the Fungus Lord. It is 1 colors and a green for a 2/2 fungus. Each other creature you control that's a fungus or a Saproling gets +1/+1. Meaning if somehow you get a fungus and a Saproling as 1 creature, it will only get +1/+1, not +2/+2. So you play all 4 copies of these, as they will give boost to Yavimaya Sapid, to Deathbloom Thallid, and more importantly to all of your tokens. So if we're playing for them, you should easily get some big tokens and just swing for large amounts of damage. And they do in fact stack. If you have 4 of these out, you will have 5/5 Saproling tokens, which is just insane. And you can even just spend 4 mana every turn to pump them out. Then we have 2 creatures left. These are, if you want to switch these out, you can, but I feel like these are good enough. You've got 2 Thallid Soothsayer. Bit of a tongue twister there. We've got 4 mana for a 2/3, but you can pay 2 mana, sacrifice a creature, and then draw a card. With the amount of tokens we're generating, it doesn't really matter if you sacrifice a creature or 2. And then you can use that for the Slimefoot Stowaway to ping some damage, or even sacrifice your Deathbloom Thallid to get some more tokens, if that matters. So we got 2 of those, and they're probably the most expensive card in the deck, mana-wise. Most expensive creature, at least. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clear these up so we can look at the other spells. Okay, now we are going to focus on the actual token generating element of the deck by drawing buttloads of these little guys and powering them up with other effects. So to start, probably one of the second or even first best card of the deck is our playset of Saproling Migration. It costs 1 color and a green to create 2 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens. So that's 2 mana for 2 power, which is generally what you want. Except if you cast in this late game, you can pay the kicker cost, and that will, for 4 mana, which means 6 mana overall, to create 4 of those tokens instead. So late game, it's not completely useless, and you can create 4 of those tokens. And even with just 1 of the Lords out, you get 8 worth of power for 6 mana. That's pretty good. It is a sorcery though, so you have to play it during your own turn. And again, it's a common. So you'll be finding buttloads of these around, and they will be very, very cheap. I think at the filming this, they're about 10 cents each. Okay, next we've got another very, very important and good card of the deck. We have Spore Swarm. We have 4 of these as well. This is an uncommon at instant speed. 3 colors and a green, and we can create 3 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens. So it's not quite as efficient, but with instant speed, the 1 mana can be useful. So we've got 4 of these. These are very useful for during the blocking step, especially if you have one of the Spore Crown Dallards out. You'll be creating 6 power worth, which is easily enough to kill a lot of things. Assuming you can block them. It will kill, can't really think of much, it'll kill the Scarab God zombies, and even Scarab God itself if you plan it right. It will just come back, but it's better than nothing. However, it will not stop threats like Lyra Dawnbringer, Glorybringer, Hazaret, all of them because of their abilities Flying, First Strike, and Indestructible. But then, even that, if they play an Uncrop Crasher, you can just instant speed this in, create 2, and block it and kill it. Or even just 1 if you have the Lord out. Then we are playing one of the last ways to generate tokens, 2 copies of Fungal Plots. This is a 2 mana enchantment, 1 colorless and a green, and it is an uncommon. You can pay 1 colorless and a green to exile a creature card from your graveyard to create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. The downside of this is that you have to have a creature in the graveyard. And that doesn't happen too often with this deck, but it is still really good enchantment. As its second ability, sacrifice 2 Saprolings, you gain 2 life and draw a card. With Slimefoot the Stowaway out, you can sacrifice 2 Saprolings, gain 2 life, draw a card, and then they take 2 damage and you gain another 2 life. So sacrifice 2 Saprolings to deal 2 damage, gain 4 life, and draw a card. That's pretty good. So we're playing 2 of those. We don't want any more really because it's only good late-ish game where you have some dead creatures. Otherwise, it's pretty useless. So now we're up to the removal spells. We have about 9 spells in this deck, but not all of them are all just based on killing creatures, but they have their added effect. First of all, we are playing 4 copies of Fungal Infection. It is 1 mana instant. The target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Then you get to create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. So, if it doesn't actually kill anything, it's still 1 mana for a 1/1 token with the relevant typing, which is already good enough. But if you drop this on like turn 1, when they play either a Dauntless Bodyguard, Lana Werewolves, Earthshaker Kenra, Skymarcher Aspirant, a lot of creatures only have 1 defense in this format, and you can kill it as early as turn 1. And also get the added bonus. And it is an instant, meaning with the amount we play, there can be a lot of times where if they're attacking and they have 2 defense, You can give it -1/-1, and then block with the Saproling you just generated. So that will happen quite a bit and save you a lot of damage from being dealt, and remove some creatures. And if you're really desperate, you can use it on your own creatures if you want the token out but can't target an opponent. I believe it does have to target a creature to work. You can't just play it for the token. We are then playing one of the better removal spells in this deck. We are playing Vicious Offering. 3 copies. It is a common, instant, 1 color and a black, for target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. This is already pretty good. It's a lot like Moment of Craving, except you don't get into life. But the kicker cost makes up for that. You can kick it by sacrificing a creature when you cast it, and that will change it so target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. This is very easy to kill a lot of things. It will kill Lyra Dawnbringer. It'll kill Danither. It'll kill Glorybringer. It'll even kill Hazaret because the minus ability, rather than actually dealing damage. It will kill Scarab God until it regenerates. It will kill all the zombies generated by a Scarab God, and all this for 2 mana and sacrificing a creature. It's very similar to Cast Down, except it can kill legendaries, especially like Lyra Dawnbringer, and it can also kill indestructible creatures. Okay, and then we have 2 more removal spells in the deck. We have 2 copies of Walk the Plank. It is 2 black mana, sorcery speed, destroy target non-merfolk creature. So this can be used for during your turn, right before you attack, just clear out some blockers, kill some things that is a bit hard to otherwise. With Saprolings, with like 1/1/2/2 attackers, it's very hard to clear your opponent's board. So some Walk the Planks can help. If you are versing Merfolk, you'll probably want to switch these into the sideboard for maybe another copy of Vicious Offering. But I'll talk more about that later. Okay, lastly in the deck we have 2 copies of Wild Onslaught. 4 mana instant, 3 colors and a green, to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. But you can pay an additional 4 mana to give each creature 2 +1/+1 counters instead. So if you have, like, for example, 5 tokens out, you can make them all 3/3s. So it's an extra 10 additional worth of counters for 8 mana. And then with the Lords as well, you can increase them more until you have like 4 4s. And it's instant speed, so you can play it as you're blocking or even attacking. And as an additional thing, even in the artwork, you can see some little funguses and stuff, which kind of adds to the flavor of the deck. Next, we have lands. Starting, I have personally 3 copies of the dual black-green lands, but you should probably pay more. If you want it to be cheaper, you should use Foul Orchid. But if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, you can use Woodland Cemetery. In total, we want about 23 lands. As I'm only playing 3 dual lands, I'm playing 11 copies of Forest. You can use like Heshep Oasis, Desert of the Indomitable, whatever you want, as long as it can supply green mana. Or even if you want, I guess you could play Unclaimed Territory, except I don't recommend it. And that'll also add to the cost of the deck. I'm also playing 9 copies of Swamp or Black lands. I like Memorial to Folly, as you can use it to bring creatures back from the graveyard, which there's a fair bit of sacrificing in this deck, so if you do have to sacrifice a Yavimaya Sapid, you can just bring it back with Memorial to Folly. So that is 23 lands overall. Now to talk about the sideboard. As the deck is so cheap, I haven't really found a proper sideboard for it, but I do have some options to actually play in the deck if you want to change some things out. First of all, we've got the 4th copy of Vicious Offering. That can be quite useful depending on your matchup, especially against Merfolk or indestructible creatures somehow if they start popping up. You've also got Moment of Craving. I see this a fair bit in Magic the Gathering Arena because Fatal Push isn't that common. You can run Fatal Push too, but it is quite expensive. And this is a budget deck. Against control, you can also run Blossoming Defense to give creatures hexproof and +2/+2 at instant speed. There are some other funguses I didn't mention, like Thallid Omnivore. It's 4 mana for a 3/3. You can pay a mana, sacrifice another creature, and give it +2/+2 until end of turn. And if you sacrificed a Saproling this way, which most of the time you will, you get to gain 2 life. And with that sacrificing, you can use Slimefoot the Stowaway to ping the opponent. Some other options for the deck, you can run Tetzamok if you're versing a very aggressive deck. If you just want to board wipe when he enters, and it'll also give you a lot more damage, much more of a damage threat with a 6/6 Death Touch. There's also some other cards that actually generate tokens themselves. There's Tendershoot Dryad, but that is about $6 each, and a bit more pricey for this deck. You'd run around 2 or 3 maybe, but for less than $8, I don't think it's needed. But there is Overgrown Armasaur. It is 5 mana for a 4/4 with Enrage. Whenever it is dealt damage, create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. I feel like this creature is a bit too high on the curve for this deck, as most cards only cost around 4 mana and less, and this card isn't that reliable. But if you want to, you can use it, especially if versing red decks. If they Lightning Strike, Shock, all that stuff, this card will give you a nice benefit. There's also the new card in Dominaria called Verdant Force. It is 8 mana for a 7/7. For 3 green and 5 colors, at the beginning of each upkeep, including your opponent's turn, create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. This is very similar to Tendershoot Dryad, except it's more expensive and has a lot more power and toughness. It is also most likely a lot cheaper. Another answer for control decks, you can run Divest and Duress. Divest lets you look through your opponent's hand to get rid of artifacts or creatures. However, Duress lets you look for non-creature, non-lands. So they're very similar. Duress lets you get rid of things like Negate, which is very bad for this deck, and Divest lets you get rid of things like Scarab God, Torrential Gear Hulk, and even just against aggro decks, you can get rid of some goblins or some dinosaurs, etc. And they both cost 1 black mana at sorcery, so fits nicely within this deck. Not many Planeswalkers have the black or green, especially not cheap ones, but one that does is Vraska Relic Seeker. It is 6 mana for a 6 loyalty Planeswalker, that's already good, 4 mana, and a black and a green. Its +2 ability lets it create a 2/2 black pirate creature token with Menace. Menace adds a lot extra of a threat to the deck with attacking, as just the tokens themselves will die a fair bit in combat. But with Menace, you can kill a lot more creatures that way and get through for more damage. But its -3 ability looks a lot nicer. It's destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. It can be anywhere on the field, including your opponents and including yourself. And when you do, you get to create a colorless treasure artifact token, which sacrifices for mana. This helps as you can ramp into your bigger cards. And if it ever does come to it, you can -10 to make target's player's life total become 1. So after generating a lot of tokens, generating some pirates, you should easily get through. And even just using Slimefoot the Stowaway, sacrifice it, Saproling, and you will ping that 1 last damage to kill. Some other cards that are optional, there is Golden Demise. This is a very good board wipe, except in this deck it only works really half the time. Because of how small your creatures are, the first effect will kill most of them, except if you have the City's Blessing, which you can do pretty fast, because of all the tokens and all the permanents, you can make all the opponents get -2/2 until end of turn. The only problem being that this is a sorcery, which means you can't play it during your combat step. So you can play it after to deal the additional damage to kill a fair few creatures after the Saproling's battle. Then we have Journey to Eternity. This is more necromancy based as well, which isn't, it kind of fits this deck, except not as good as it should, because of all the tokens which are exiled when they are killed. So 3 mana for a legendary enchantment. When an enchant creature you control. When an enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Then return Journey to Eternity battlefield to the battlefield transformed under your control. Which means, essentially, you get to bring back something from the dead. And if you bring something back like Yavimaya Sapid, the effect of him being on the field will reset and you'll generate another token. This card isn't as good if you even if you attach this to a Saproling token, I think it will work, except you won't get the token back. You should just get the this enchantment transformed. When this transform is transformed, it can tap to add 1 mana of any color, which can fix your mana if you're getting all blacks or all greens, or you can pay 5 mana total to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, which will also activate Yavimaya Sapid. If your lord dies, just bring it back. And even Thalia Deathbloom, the one that dies, generates a token. If you just bring it back from the dead and keep sacrificing it over and over, you'll just generate lots of value. Then there's also Path of Discovery. 4 mana for an enchantment. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores, which means you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, you put it in your hand, but if it's not, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on the creature, and you get to put that card back on the top or put it in your graveyard, which also relates to the whole necromancy style things that I've been talking about. But with this, it includes tokens, meaning if you generate a token, you instantly get some draw support or make the token bigger. This is a lot of value, except for 4 mana, it's not too reliable in this deck with all the cheap costs. Then last but certainly not least, we have Growing Rites of Itlamok. When it enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal it from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So when you play it, you get to search through essentially the top part of your deck. You can grab your lords, your Yavimaya Sapids, etc. Oh, it is 3 mana for legendary enchantment, sorry. And at the beginning of your end step, you control 4 more creatures, which will happen a lot with all the token generating. And for 3 mana, like turn 1 Fungal Infection, turn 2 Saproling Migration. That's 3 creatures. So then turn 3, yeah, you just play some more. So you should get this out by maybe turn 3 or 4. And transform it. And when you do transform it, you can add 1 grass mana to your mana pool, or you can add grass mana to your mana pool for each creature you control. I mean, if you have 3 Saprolings out, you can tap this for 3 mana, which will pay for a lot of things in the deck. This is one of the best forms of ramp in Standard right now. And it is green, which can help you cast a lot of your spells. So they are all the options for the sideboard I've got, but please suggest more. You can run Vrask of Contempt, Cast Down, all those cards, but they are relatively expensive. And if you're spending that much on a deck, it would probably be better to get something a little bit more consistent and reliable than black, green, fungus, Saprolings. But that is all I've got for you today, so enjoy.